Hello, and welcome to the final episode of Life of a Volleyball Player in a 6-2 rotation. In this video, we're going to be covering the last position on the court, our setter. So, life of a setter in a 6-2 rotation. Now, I want to break down a couple of things that I've said in past videos. The first thing is the setter what everything revolves around on a team? No, of course not, right? We're teammates, we all support each other, back each other up, etc. But I will say that the setter is what things revolve around on the court in a serve-receive. Remember, we want to get our setter as close to her base as possible. So, that's thing number one that I want to cover. Thing number two. Setter, you are the quarterback on the court. And why I say that is because you touch the ball more than anyone else on the team, okay? You always touch second ball, so you get a ton more touches, which means you need to be in control of that ball. Where are you sending it? What plays are you playing? Are you talking to the other girls on the court? Are you coming up with court culture? Okay, some of these things are responsibilities of our setter as quarterback on the court. And thing number three, where exactly is setter's base? Okay, setter, I hate to break it to you, but you've got a lot of work. Okay, it's not hard, but there's a lot of stuff that's involved in being a setter. So, we have two bases. In a 6-2 rotation, we're always going to have a back row setter, so your base is always going to be over here in right back. Okay, so if you are on middle back, if you're in middle back, your goal is to get to right back every single time. If you're in left back, your goal is still to get to right back every single time. Let's say you set a ball way over here. As soon as you set that ball, you cover, and then you get all the way back to your base in right back. So remember, base for our setter is back here in right back. But where is setter's base? The other setter's base. Now the other setter's base is going to be right here. It's in between our middle hitter and our right side hitter. She is about an arm's length away from our middle, right here. Alright? And we're doing a constant dance, a motion back and forth from the 10-foot line, from our actual base to our setter's base at that net. So these are just some of the things I want us to focus on and keep in mind as we go through serve, receive, and serve. And we'll just jump into it. Alright, we've got rotation 1. Now, rotation 1 is nice in the case that you're already in your base, your actual base. But setter, we're never going to be in our actual base because we're always going to be trying to get to our setter's base, especially in serve receive. So we're serving in this case. So this is pretty easy. We just pull back. We're going to ignore everyone else on the court. We don't need to worry about what they're doing, but we're going to pull back. We're going to serve. As soon as we serve, we have to sprint in to our base. Now here's the problem. If we don't sprint into our base and the ball comes all the way over and lands right here, who's going to have to get that ball? You. Okay? Setters, you have to remember you're playing defense first. Every single time, you should think defense first. I am playing back row first. Once that ball doesn't come to me back row, then I can go and play as setter. Okay? So it's pretty easy for serve. We start in our serve, we sprint to our base, and then we play it out from there in that constant dance from the net to the back row, back and forth. Now we're going to set up serve receive. Again, as I said before, everything revolves around setter in serve receive. Okay? So we're going to have our front row over here, and we're going to have our back row over here. And the only person that we need to know about in rotation 1 is our outside hitter. So we are pulling up as far as we can so that the outside hitter can pull back but still be one step in front of our other back row players. So we're shadowing our outside who is pulling back from the front row to help us out, they are covering that first ball. If a ball is coming to the two of you, your job is not to get that ball. Your job is to sprint to the net and be ready to get the second ball. Because if you touch the first, can you touch the second? No, right? So, let's do it again. We've got setter, we're right here. Outside hitter, we're right here. And as soon as that ball is served, we are already up at that net. We are there, ready to take second ball wherever it goes. So that's rotation 1. Now let's say we win that point. We rotate. We are in rotation 2. Okay, so now we're in the middle back. So we have to figure out how to get to our base as soon as possible. Now in serve, it's pretty easy because our DS is back here and they're serving. And we don't need to worry about where she is. We can actually go ahead and just jump to our base. I'm not even going to draw everyone else out here. We're going to ignore them, okay, because we are already in our base. We just kind of hang out. Remember, when someone is serving behind that back line, they don't count as a part of rotation. So even if our server is, say instead of over here, she's pulled back and she's serving from over here, you can still be in your base. You don't have to worry about crossing or anything like that when that person is serving. So let's back it up. And we're going to say that we served, we were in base, we played it out, and we lost the point. That's okay. We're going to come back, we're going to get this next point in serve-receive. Now, setter, we need to get you as close to your setting base at the net as possible. So what we're going to do is you were originally in the middle back. We're going to scoot you up to this 10-foot line right here. Okay, our right side is going to be over here. Our middle is going to be over here. So we're creating a triangle. I talked about this in the right side video and the middle video. If you saw those, this should be a little bit familiar. So we're creating this triangle up at the 10-foot line. Our DS is staying where she is. Okay, we don't need to worry about her. And then everyone else is shifting over. So our outside hitter is pulling back. And then our DS is pulling, our libero is pulling over. So let me clean this up a little bit. You're still at that 10-foot line. Our DS is over in your base, and our libero is pulling his middle back. So the thing you need to remember is we're creating this triangle over here with our middle and our right side. And you still need to be in between our libero and our DS. Also, you are back row. So you need to make sure you are behind this front row player right here. Okay? So you gotta make sure you're behind her. Let me draw it one more time and I'll add in my grid lines over here. So we've got setter. And we've got everyone else. We need to make sure we are within this little boundary and we're creating that triangle. So an easy way to keep within that boundary but still make sure you're behind the front row is you're going to be right at that 10-foot line every single time. And then remember, you set that ball, and then as soon as the ball goes back over, you are back here, you are in base, and you always end up there, ready to play defense first before you set the next ball. Now we're going to shift. We're going to say we won the point. We rotated. We're in rotation 3. Now what are we going to do in rotation 3? This is probably the weirdest rotation we have just because some of the things we do don't seem legal, but they actually are. So that's super nice. So we've got us in rotation 3, we are over in libero's base right now. We don't want to be there, right? We want to get to our base. So we're going to go into serve. Libero is pulling back to serve, or middle is pulling back to serve. Doesn't matter who it is. We're just going to go with the assumption that it's libero right now. Our DS is middle back, and she doesn't want to go anywhere, right? She's already in her base if libero's on the court. So then we've got us. Poor little setter all the way over here. So what we can do is actually cheat over as far as our DS. So let me draw that. we can cheat over as far as our DS. And as soon as libero hits that ball, we sprint to our base. And we play everything out. And then remember, we still have to go back to our starting rotation. We still have to be back in this starting rotation. Once that play dies, once that ball dies, we go back to our starting rotation. So that's pretty much it for serve. But now serve-receive is where it gets a little bit, I don't want to say confusing, but it can be tricky to some players. So to clear up a couple of things, we have to stay within certain grid lines to make sure we are in our rotation. So let me explain. Let's go over what the serve-receive looks like, and then I'll explain why it's legal, and then I'll simplify it for you. So we'll do kind of a 3-step process. So what the serve-receive is going to look like is we are currently over here, but we don't want to be there. We want to get as close to our setter's base up at the net over here as possible, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to actually pull up right past the 10-foot line. And remember, we have to stay behind. We're going to have our middle hitter over here. We have to stay right behind our middle hitter. So we can't cross that line. We've got our right side over here we're ignoring. We've got our libero, who we're also ignoring, and our DS. So you're saying, where's the outside? Why is she not here? Well, you're currently back row. Our outside was playing as middle front. So you are essentially going to swap places. So let me clear this up just a little bit and show you what it's going to look like when you guys swap places. We're going to have middle over here. Setter, you're going to be right behind our middle. And we've got our right side, back row, and we have our outside hitter. So these are the grid lines that I was talking about. You need to make sure that you are right behind that middle. You can't cross her. Okay, you can't be fully in front of her. You need to make sure that you are on the left side of our back row player. And those are the only things you need to work on. And here's why. So if we go back to our original rotation, you see there's 2 players that are directly next to us. We have our DS, who's directly next to us, and our middle hitter, who is directly next to us. And these are the only 2 players we have to worry about crossing with. So all you need to do is remember, you are back row, so you have to be behind our middle, and you are to the left of the DS. So that's all you need to focus on. We don't need to focus on our outside at all. So what that's going to look like when we get over here is this. Only thing we need to work on is these 2 grid lines. Remember, staying right behind that middle and staying to the left of our DS, who's in middle back right now. Our outside can go wherever she wants to go as long as she stays just above our back row and to the right of our middle. So you see these little grid lines that we're following. And I'll draw it one more time without all the grid lines, just to help simplify a little bit. We've got middle over here, right side over here, back row, outside, and us. Okay, so we're pulling up. I guess I will draw the grid lines in, it kind of helps. And just making sure we're staying in between these lines. Alright, so those are the key things for setter. Remember, as setter, you are running your court. You are in charge of making sure that everyone knows where they're going on the court. So I would highly recommend either watching the other videos for the other positions or talking to your coach about the other positions. And then especially focusing on right side, because if something happens and we don't have any subs, you're going to have to play right side in the front row. So figuring out how to do that. Alright, if there's anything I left out, please let me know. Or if you have any questions, also let me know. But that is all for Life of a Volleyball Player. I will send out more videos of different things like defense and where to play in base, at the net or in the back row. But that is it for now. See y'all later.